This is the terrifying moment an alien girl finds something very strange between the legs of a survivor who was recently rescued from a spaceship that crashed in the forest. When she touched it, it only made things worse. What could it be? The year is 2042. For over a decade, humanity has been exploring the galaxy in search of new life. They had some success with that, but their most recent discovery was by far their most exciting yet. An alien planet very similar to Earth, with an atmosphere and climate that was suitable for humans to survive in. And not just that, they also found traces of intelligent life. A civilization that seemed to have disappeared without a trace. There were no signs of war or destruction. The buildings were still standing, and so were the vehicles. It looked like everyone just vanished into thin air. A team of 5 explorers was sent to the planet to find out what happened. But when they arrived, they found something completely different. A huge spaceship in the middle of the forest. Inside the ship, they found 6 people who had clearly been in a panic when they crash-landed. All except one of them were dead, victims of unknown circumstances. The last one was barely alive, and when he saw the explorers coming, he screamed at the top of his lungs. It took a while, but eventually they managed to calm him down and get him to tell them what happened. Apparently, they were on their way back home when they were attacked by an alien species known as the Krill. They destroyed their ship and forced them to land in this forest. Then they started hunting the crew one by one. He was the only one who managed to hide in the ship until now. The explorers helped him get out of the ship and then set up camp nearby. One of them, a medic, went to check on the bodies. Maybe there was something they could do to save the others. But when she arrived, she found something very strange. There was a big swelling between the legs of one of the female crew members. It wasn't there before, which meant it developed after they crash-landed. When she touched it, the alien growth under her skirt began to pulsate rapidly. As she pulled her hand back, it oozed some sort of black fluid. At first, the medic thought it might be some sort of parasitic growth, maybe a larva of some kind. But as it began to move, she realized it was something else entirely. It didn't look like any kind of creature she had ever seen before. She quickly called the other explorers over. Maybe together they could figure out what it was. They all crowded around the woman, trying to get a better look at the mysterious swelling between her legs. It had grown quite a bit since the medic first discovered it. Whatever it was, it seemed to be getting bigger by the second. At first, they tried to remove it by squeezing it, pinching it, even poking it a few times. But it didn't seem to do anything. It just kept growing larger and pulsating faster. Then someone suggested they try rubbing it. Maybe that would help. So they all took turns rubbing the weird black growth between the woman's legs. But it didn't do anything good. In fact, it seemed to make things much worse. After a while, the swelling had grown to be almost the size of a football. It was still pulsating and oozing a black liquid. None of them had any idea what to do. Then the medic had a brainwave. She ran back to the ship and grabbed a pair of scissors. She then carefully started cutting away the fabric of the woman's skirt, revealing the full extent of the growth. It was like nothing they had ever seen before. It looked like a big black balloon with many small white dots all over it. The white dots were the eyes. Hundreds, maybe thousands of them, each one blinking at them sinisterly. Whatever this thing was, it was alive. As the medic continued cutting away the fabric, the alien growth began to squirm. It wanted to escape. One of the explorers grabbed a woman's leg and held it down while another did the same with her other leg. Finally, the medic managed to cut the growth free from the rest of the skirt. It tumbled onto the ground where the explorers had set up camp, right at their feet. For a moment, none of them said a word. They were too scared to speak. The thing began to pulsate violently. Its eyes, oh God, its eyes were everywhere. It was like looking into the abyss. The thing let out a loud screeching sound and suddenly shot towards one of the explorers. It wrapped itself around his leg and sank its teeth into his flesh. He screamed in pain as blood started pouring out of the wound. The other explorers panicked. They tried kicking the thing off, but it wouldn't come off. It was stuck in the man's leg and seemed determined to drink all of his blood. This guy, along with the medic, had been the one to touch the thing the most. Perhaps its consciousness had somehow transferred to him. They tried hitting the creature, but it was no use. It was too strong. Then the medic had another brainwave. She remembered the medic kit in the ship containing powerful sedatives. She hoped they would knock the creature out long enough for them to get it off of the man's leg. One of the explorers ran back to the ship and grabbed the kit. He handed it over to the medic, who immediately got to work. She injected the man with the sedative. It would take some time before it started working, but it was the only option they had. Otherwise, this thing would drain the man of all his blood and then attack them one by one. While waiting for the sedative to kick in, the explorers tied a tourniquet around the man's leg to slow the bleeding. Finally, the creature began to relax its grip on the man's leg. It slumped to the ground where it twitched for a bit before going completely still. They carefully peeled it off the man's leg and examined it. It didn't seem to be moving anymore. Maybe they had killed it, but that wouldn't explain how it grew under the woman's skirt in the first place. They decided to take it back to the ship and study it in there. But when they turned their backs on it, it suddenly shot up and knocked one of the explorers unconscious. It had regenerated. Whatever this thing was, it was able to heal itself from almost any wound. It drained the unconscious explorer of all his blood. Then it slithered over to the woman whose leg it had previously latched onto. It wrapped itself around her head and sank its teeth into her neck. She screamed in pain, but the sedative from before was still in her system, so it only slowed her down a bit. It took a while, but eventually the thing drank all of her blood. Then it moved on to the next explorer, and the process repeated itself. In the end, only 3 explorers were left alive. They didn't know what to do. They had never seen anything like this before, and whatever it was clearly hostile. If they couldn't stop it, it would kill them all. Then the medic had another brainwave. Shiram family. They had previously scanned the dead crew members, but perhaps they missed something. So they took the thing back to the ship and put it on a medical table. Then they began scanning it. It took some time, but finally they got a result. It was a parasite, but not one they recognized. Their database contained information about thousands of parasites, but this one was a new species. Somehow it had managed to latch onto one of the crew members and live inside her body until they crash-landed. Then it developed rapidly and used her blood to grow even bigger. And it wasn't done growing. It was still pulsating and squirming, but it was too late by now. The explorers knew that even if they managed to destroy it, they were too exposed here. The Kriya would probably find them soon. They needed to leave as fast as possible, so they did something crazy. They put the alien creature inside an empty spacesuit and sealed it in there. Then they left the planet as fast as they could. Right before leaving, they detonated the explosives in the ship to cover their tracks. Back on their home planet, they reported what had happened to the higher UPS. But when they opened the container with the alien creature, they found that it was gone. Somehow it had managed to escape. Now it was loose on their home planet, somewhere out there, growing and multiplying. To this day, they're still searching for it. Who knows how many lives this parasite will claim?